Three, two, one, and we're live.
Cool.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Technology for Good Hangout. This is episode 37. My guest on the show today is Mike Maney. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. First of all, congrats on 37. It's quite the run. My name is Mike Maney, and I've known Tom for a little bit through his work with Red Monk, and my use of the Monktoberfest and Monkey Gras uh, beerless and conferences. But I am a former head of influencer management at Alcatel-Lucent, and I've past 3 years I've struck out on my own and run my own media and communications consultancy.
Nice. And where are you based?
I am based. Some people would say I'm based out of Philadelphia. Others would say I'm based out of New York, or right in between the two. I like to tell people I am based right along the Delaware River, right up the street from where Washington crossed it.
Ah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Very historic.
middle of the sticks.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll head into the stories, Mike. And as per usual with this show, we always start off with some bad news. And the first story we're going into today is no different. This is from The Guardian, and it's the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, their report showing 6 graphs that shows how we're changing the world's climate. And there's a long piece going through those, and it highlights 6 of the main graphs from the report. The first one they show here is the observed change in surface temperature from 1901 to 2012, and you can see it's mostly red with some kind of bluish areas. Bluish, obviously, temperature less than normal, but most of the map is red, and that's increases of temperatures by anywhere from 0.2 to 1.75 degrees or more. Then you have another graph showing globally averaged land and ocean surface temperatures from 1850 to 2012, and the top one is the annual average, and the bottom one is the decadal average, so 10-year moving averages as you go up along. And you can see there the last 4 decades it's been increasing starkly. And similarly with the annual means, they've been going up starkly as well. The change in the surface temperature here, the 1986 to 2005 and the projected 2081 to 2100, which looks horribly red heading into brown. You've got the global average sea level change, which is pretty impressive. The sea level change is gone up from 1900 to a little over 2000. It's gone up by between 150 and 200 millimeters. So 200 millimeters, 20 centimeters. 20 centimeters, what's that in inches? That is about 9 inches, if memory serves. Then you've got Arctic summer sea ice extent, and of course that is going down as the Arctic ice is melting year on year. And lastly, you've got the CO2 emissions, and of course, left to right, they're going up and up and up. So, like I said, as always with this show, we start off with the bad news to kind of put things into context. But then we head into the better news. And here we go with some better news. And the first of the better news stories is this one coming out of Scotland. And it's showing that Scotland produced enough wind energy to power every single home in Scotland in October of this year. And Scotland's renewables is a real great story. They've got an enormous amount of installed wind energy, and they've got even better ambitions. What Scotland wants to do is Scotland doesn't just want to become fully energy independent, it wants to become an energy exporter, and doing that completely from renewables. So and nuclear as well. As of September, the country got 29.8% of its electricity from renewables, 34.4% from nuclear, and only 34.4% from fossil fuels. It hopes to generate the equivalent of 100% from renewables and to export non-renewable production from conventional power plants to countries like England. So, superb. Not just superb what they've done to date, but superb also in their ambitions and where they want to be going to. Mike, thoughts on the first two? The climate change. I mean, that's just a given, and we're all
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of head in hand over that one.
yeah, I mean the climate change one. If you're running, if you're running a business and those are your financial graphs, that's awesome because they're constantly going up and to the right. You start looking at the impact that they're going to have, and look at the trends that are happening within the environment, and that's you wish that was a mistake and that they were actually inverted, but that's not happening. And from a branding perspective, it'll be interesting to see how people treat the colors red and yellow moving forward, and the negative connotations on those. For Scotland, there's something interesting in here for me, in a parallel, because if you look at the tech industry, you've got your big guns, you've got your IBMs, your HPs, your Microsofts, your Googles, and you're never going to fully topple them. They're massive, they're entrenched, they do what they do, and for the right kind of customers, and that's good. But what happened is people realized, okay, these guys aren't necessarily fast enough or adaptive enough for the future and where everybody's going. And what happened with that? We had open source technology spring up around it. We had startups spring up around around those larger companies to not to necessarily topple them, but to offer different alternatives. And we have different industries. What Scotland shows, at least to me, is a similar parallel in the energy sector. Are you ever going to fully topple oil, and the Middle East? Probably not, right? That's pretty entrenched.
We have to in time.
Right, maybe in time, but
sooner the better.
Right, but in the meantime, right, and you could say the same thing of tech. You've got to topple people like Microsoft and everything else in order for everything to advance. But let's just assume that you don't fully topple, big oil. What happens? You've got areas like Scotland that become open source outposts, right? They become new energy sectors, new places where others will go to get their energy, and I think that alternative energy, and I think they become very interesting parallels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And considering Scotland's background as the place where the North Sea oil landed, I think it's them doing their bit to make up for their sins of the past.
Yeah, and from a wind perspective, I've got friends that have golfed in Scotland, and from what they tell me, it's got wind to spare.
It does. Maybe the turbines will tame some of that. So we'll move on, and there's a lot of interesting stories we've got to cover this week.
Yeah, you got some good stuff in here.
The first one that I thought was interesting was how Google have done a new update on their Nest thermostat. So, I mean, there's a change in the UI on it. I don't have a screenshot of it here, but there's a change in the UI, so you get more information on the screen now. But also there's a change in the algorithms and how it learns. So apparently Google are saying that now it learns your routines more quickly, and as a consequence it gets better, and it's the savings according to this from the update, which is an over-the-air update. The savings are going to be for about 6% per customer. So that's pretty awesome. And not only that, but at the Web Summit in Dublin this week, Tony Fadell announced a new deal with an Irish energy company called Electric Ireland. And the new deal is that for people who sign up for a 2-year contract with Electric Ireland, they get a free Nest thermostat. So, I mean, the Nest thermostat is a pretty significantly Awesome device, I think. I mean, I don't have one. I've never tried it, but everything I've read about it and anyone I've talked to who has one, they all rave about them. And this seems, well, first of all, the software update improves the functionality apparently. It takes in outside factors like external weather and things like that as well. And now the model that they've introduced in Ireland, the Electric Ireland deal with the 2-year sign up for the utility and the free Nest, is one that they say they're going to roll out in other countries as well. They're starting in Ireland, but they'll roll it out in other countries as well. So it looks like a neat little model.
You know, and it gets to sort of it gets us closer to the, you know, to the nirvana that that everybody keeps saying we want, you know, out of technology, right? We all, you know, maybe we still don't have our flying cars yet, but we do want a more Jetson. We always claim that we want a more Jetson-like lifestyle, and this gets us there, right? It becomes technology in the background, which is where technology is supposed to be, and that's where the best technology is supposed to be. And you know, and I think that's where we're getting. It becomes, you know, it becomes ambient technology, and sort of you know, this is a new way of, you know, integrating, you know, the human factor, something as basic as how many people are in the room, and should that room be 69 degrees or 84 degrees, and not having to worry about it. It just learns it. You should never have to touch technology. I really like what they're doing. The other reason, and you said, you know, talking about people that have used it, I love that the people that I know that have it are not they're not geeks. They are normal consumers that don't normally touch technology, and they've got Nests on their walls.
Interesting. How did they hear about it?
You know, it's a hot technology. I think design plays a big role in this. I think it absolutely does. I think the stuff that the Electric Ireland is doing with them, that's going to help as well, because let's face it, you know, Nest isn't a cheap product. I've got a thermostat on my wall. It works fine as far as I know. But again, I don't have to touch it, except, you know, when the weather gets cold, and then when the weather gets warm again. Although I am on the Mid-Atlantic coast, so that could be every other day lately. But yeah, I mean, you know, you start to subsidize some of this ambient technology, and you know, and all of a sudden, it's not just the telcos anymore that are running the networks. It's GE and Electric Ireland, and you know, and other companies, and you know, and other different industries.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I like about it is, yeah, somebody's going to make money someplace on this, as it's business, but there's a whole lot of.
But it's a win-win-win deal. It's a win for Electric Ireland, because they're in a competitive marketplace trying to get customers. It's a liberalised market, the Irish energy market.
Okay.
Not as liberalised as the UK, but pretty far along those lines. So it's a win for Electric Ireland. It's a win for the customers, because they get a free Nest with a savings in their energy, you would suspect, from using it if they use it properly, and it's not hard to use, and it's a win for Nest. They get more sales, you know. So there's no losers in this that I can see.
No,
except
you know. Right. Well, that's exactly it. You get people. Maybe not everybody wins. You know, but it encourages somebody like a Honeywell to innovate and do something to beat them, or at least to come up on parity, and use the weight that they have as an entrenched incumbent to do this. And you know, that's the story since the dawn of tech is.
And then everybody wins again.
Yep, you had a chance to be this company. You didn't move quick enough. They took what should have been rightly yours.
Yeah.
You know, and there's another winner in all of this too.
Scrappy startup.
Yeah, there's another winner in all of this too, and it goes back to that first set of charts that you were showing.
Yeah.
It's the environment. The more efficient we make this, You know, the better it's going to be. Nobody, even the energy companies, nobody wants to waste energy. They want to use it more efficiently. They want to sell more, but they want to sell it more efficiently.
Correct,
You know?
absolutely. And we're moving off the energy topic for the moment. But actually, that's a point. I'm going to the SAP TechEd conference in Berlin next week, and I'll be giving a talk there. And the talk I'm giving is along those lines. So thanks for the reminder to plug my talk. The talk is how the Internet of Things is enabling the I've forgotten the title now, but basically how the Internet of Things is helping reduce energy consumption. I should remember the title of the talk I'm giving, but you know, when I put myself on the spot, my mind went blank. Pretty blank to begin with, but there you go. So that's the story. We'll move on. So the next story I saw that I thought was interesting was around the near-field communications, e-payments, and the Apple Pay. Now, Apple Pay we've all heard about because Apple have got this marketing monster machine which goes out and you know they just open their mouth and it's rebroadcast everywhere. So with the new phones that they launched last month, the 6 and the 6 Plus, they had the NFC chips built into them, something that in fairness, you know, Samsung had back in 2011 as far as I remember. But you know, it doesn't matter a damn if nobody's taking it up. Whereas now that Apple have launched their Apple Pay product, which works on their new iPhone 6s, this is, as the article says, it's a rising tide that lifts all boats because, you know, Apple are now making the market, where the Google Wallet product for the Android side of things was getting no traction or very little traction. Now with Apple building the agreements with the banks and with the retailers, and now 200,000 retailers are taking or are accepting payments from NFC-enabled devices. It's not just the Apple devices that these work with; they also work with Google Wallet. And according to this article, the number of users of Google Wallet has doubled in the last month. So that's in the period where Apple rolled out Apple Pay. And not only that, but the next story that I saw, which feeds into this exactly, is that now Windows Phone has a digital wallet that works where Apple Pay does. So now we've the Windows Phone ecosystem, the Android ecosystem, and the Apple ecosystem all together working on the same soft pay enabled devices. So anywhere that you can do, or soft card, sorry, it's called, anywhere where you can do the soft card payments, you can pay with either an Apple device, a Windows device if it has NFC built into it, or a Google Android device if it has built into it. So the three ecosystems now work with the same soft card payment systems. So suddenly, boom, we're going to see a massive increase in using your mobile phone to pay for things. And when you read down through the protocols that they've used for this, they are far more secure than credit cards. So much so that if you're paying with them online, because Apple are rolling out Pay not just for in-store payments but also as buttons on websites. So if you use it on a website with Apple Pay, you get the merchant gets the card holder present rate from the bank. It's that secure.
Well, I mean, and you know, as good as this is, as cool as and good as this is for consumers,
yeah,
the real story here is exactly what you just said. It has nothing to do with the technology. Anytime you're dealing with credit cards, and this is why you found so many small merchants using Square.
Yeah.
When Square came out, it had nothing to do with the fact that it was easy to use and it worked with their phone. You ask any of them, and it was because, and I was a user as somebody who sold photography, it was because I was charged 2.5%, including using it for Amex. Right? That's
Nice.
it comes down to cost,
Yeah.
right? They are business decisions, and if this kind of technology helps the merchant run better, make more profit, run more efficiently, sell more, that's exactly the kind of technology that they're going to implement.
Correct.
Just so happens that you know maybe it was luck. Maybe there was a lot of behind the scenes negotiating that was going on. Nothing like standards groups uh, with competing platforms. But maybe it all just hit finally, and all of these guys now start to work together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that. Plus, I gotta say, in the last 12 months, how many breaches have we had of credit card systems? It's just been
All of them.
boom. Retailers. The Targets, the who else? There's
Oh,
been a
Home
Home
Depot.
Depot. Home Depot.
I mean,
Exactly.
what is it? Home
Exactly.
Depot's been hacked like once. I don't know. What is it? Once every hour, it seems like, over the past year. And
53 million emails were that they lost in the last was it it was in the last 24 hours. It was reported that they lost 53 million email addresses. It's just
right,
it's
so there's incentive. I mean, these guys have to do this. They
yeah,
can't run. They can no long. It is no. They can no longer run their business
yeah,
on the merchant systems that they have now.
yeah.
They have become a liability,
And
and they needed new technology.
you go into a store in the US or a restaurant in the US. It doesn't matter,
Yep.
not just the US, but I'm using that one just because in the US they still haven't rolled out chip and pin. But
Yeah.
you go into the store in the US and you pull out your credit card
Hmm.
and you hand it to the server and they take it away and who knows what's happened to it when it's out of your sight.
Well, yeah. I mean, in Europe, it's right there. You've got portable
They bring the machine to
merchant
the
stuff.
table.
Yeah, the machine's
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
But even with that, I mean, it's not difficult, and even in that scenario, for like
Hmm.
a button camera or something to take a picture of the details.
Right. Right.
They don't have the chip, but at least they have the details, and even with that, you can go quite
Hmm.
far.
Yeah.
There's far less fraud here in Europe because uh, we're using the chip and pin, but still it can happen. It does happen. Um, the big difference is that with the system, no one gets to see your credit card number.
Right.
You just flash the phone and boom, that's it.
Again, another case, just like we've been talking about on these other stories, where it's a win-win for 99% of the players here.
Yeah,
It's a lose for the thieves, for the criminals,
yeah, all good.
but it's a win for everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll move on. And we were speaking about Microsoft earlier as an incumbent, and the pace of their innovation for the longest time was brutal. Until earlier this year, when Steve Ballmer stepped down and Satya Nadella stepped up as CEO. And since he stepped in, the pace of change and innovation out of them has been incredible. The kind of things he's done, well, not him personally, but the kind of changes he's enabled in the organization, I have to say, are incredible. The latest news that came out this week is that Microsoft Office is now available to everyone on every device because they've got new Office for iPhone and Office for iPad apps free.
Hmm.
So you can now download Microsoft Office as individual apps, as Excel, as PowerPoint, and as Word onto your phone or onto your iPad free, and not alone on iOS, but they also have an Android tablet preview that they're rolling out today as well. So suddenly, where Office was, this legacy app that everyone was moving away from because it wasn't easy to get it. You had to pay a bunch of money, and the UI was crap, and so on and so on.
Hmm.
Now there's a new UI with this new version that's been released, and it's free. I mean, this is a big shift from Microsoft. It really is.
it's a huge shift, and Nadella is, you know, he's he's putting his mark on the company. He's also,
Big time.
he's also doing what he can to fight for relevancy
Yeah.
in a world that has left them off on the sidelines. I think he's doing a nice job on it too.
Yeah.
Office is people. Do people? I don't even know if people use Office anymore. It's everybody I know uses Google Docs, and and schools that are sort of my kids that are forced into using Microsoft stuff. But everyone else is using something else, and it's not just the software; it's the forms of communication that have changed, right?
Yep.
I don't. It'd be interesting to see what the stats are on how many docs and ppts are out there, and see what those charts look like.
Yeah. See if they dropped off. If you could
Yeah,
chart the number in the last 5 years, that would be fascinating.
yeah, but I think I think this is a good move. Again, if you look, I haven't seen anybody say this yet, but I wonder how much of a defensive move this is now that Apple and IBM have cozied up so tightly
Yeah.
in the enterprise space, because Apple's pages and numbers are fine, and they can handle back and forth between all of the Microsoft file formats.
Yeah.
And as somebody who does a ton of these, I'm actually going to announce in a little bit a service like this, but Keynote blows everything else away. I mean,
It's a great app.
it's that good. But with Apple and IBM becoming so tight in the enterprise, does Office still have the stranglehold that it normally would?
It doesn't, and it has been losing relevancy, as you say, for years now. I had this conversation with Microsoft when they invited me to an event back in 2006 in Zurich, and I told them at that event that this was their space to throw away, and they proceeded to start throwing it away. I wasn't giving them advice, but or I was, but that wasn't the advice I was giving them.
No.
But no, it's great to see them start to turn things around, and not only that, but then Dropbox, they've done a deal with Dropbox as well, where they're now bringing out Dropbox on Windows Phone and Windows tablets in the coming months, and as well as that, they've got a deal as well with Dropbox where you can now save documents from within Word and Excel and PowerPoint into Dropbox, and you can open up them within Dropbox into their applications, into Word, into Excel, and into PowerPoint. Before, if you wanted to save Microsoft documents online into a cloud service, you have to do it into Microsoft's own OneDrive cloud service, which is not a bad service.
Mm-hmm.
But now you've got a choice. I mean, a lot more people use Dropbox than OneDrive, so they've come together, and now you can save into Dropbox just as easily as into OneDrive. So Microsoft are doing a lot of work to, as you say, fight to maintain the relevancy. They need to partner with everyone to try and get back in the game.
Well, and that's the way the market has gone too, and it's no longer just three people at the top, three companies at the top controlling everything. It's a bunch of little armies all over the place, and you have to play differently. And I don't want to say, yeah, you could almost make a little bit of the case that everybody's a commodity at this point. And it's every brand's a commodity, and it's just how well they work together, and then how much whether it's an individual choice on what you're using, and that choice is I shouldn't have to worry about which one I'm using at the time. They all just work together, or they're all accessible.
Yeah. We've got a comment from Michael Koch, Pixelbase on Twitter, saying that Office is still where most big businesses are. And I guess that comes back to your
Yep.
point earlier of the Apple IBM partnership,
Hmm.
where now the Apple Care has been rolled out using IBM for big business. So again, Apple trying to break into the enterprise space and kick Microsoft out.
And I mean, and when you look at it, it doesn't take a whole lot anymore,
Yeah,
right? You just have to crack that door open just a little bit in order to keep it rolling. And then and when you've got two companies the size and the power and the skill level of an Apple and an IBM,
yeah.
I mean, we didn't see that much press on it, but that's got to be the scariest combo for anybody in this industry. Because you never count IBM out, no matter how no matter how in dire straits they might be and how much they need to refocus or reinvent themselves.
Yeah,
But you combine those two, oh man,
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting one. It's going to be fun to watch where that goes.
yeah, yeah, and you and I know that's always a lot. It's always tougher to actually execute on that and make it work than it is to announce it.
Yeah.
Announcing stuff is easy, says the PR guy.
We saw news out of Google as well this week. Apart from the Nest stuff, they launched their new bookmarking service, kind of under the radar. And I've tried this. In fact, I used it to save some of the stories we're going to be talking about on the show today, including this one. It's very easy to use. It's a Chrome extension.
Mm-hmm.
You download the extension, and it puts a little star in the right-hand side of your address bar. And any story that you want to bookmark, you just click on the star, and boom, that's it. It's saved in there, and you've got a nicer UI in your bookmarks. So instead of it being a long list of stories, as it is in a lot of the bookmarking services, what you get instead is, as you can see on the screen here, you get a list, you get a grid of these pictures, one for each of the stories that you've saved, or sites that you've saved, or whatever it is you're saving. So I gotta say, like I say, I used it to save some of the stories for this show, and I did like it. I did. It worked very well. I use a combination of different.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be popular on this one.
Go on. No, I mean, I use different things, and I should standardize on one, so I'm not all
But
over
that's
the
exactly
place.
the point.
I'm very fragmented. I use Pocket,
That,
and I use Twitter favorites,
right.
and now I've started using this Chrome one as well. And I use a couple of other things as well from time to time. It just depends. Sometimes I use just Safari. So if I
Right.
open up something on my iPad, I'll have it available to me in the drop down on Safari on my desktop, just because they share. So, like I say, I should standardize on something for myself, for my own sanity.
I mean, and that's the whole point. There's absolutely zero need or reason for Google to have done this. We talk about innovation and how awesome innovation in the Valley is. Bull. It's a Me Too product. And that's, we have Pocket knows how to do this. Evernote knows how to do this. Safari Reading List knows how to do this. Hell, I still use Delicious. I use it for some different reasons, but that's still alive. And
Yeah.
and that's the granddaddy of all of them.
Yeah.
Flipboard. Let's just throw Flipboard out there. Thank you, Google, for making the 8th of 20 different products that do all the same thing. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, great. You can do it through Chrome, and they made a nice little yellow star out of it. Awesome. At least that's the best UI they've done in a long time. But I don't know. It's maybe there's some secret sauce underneath it. Maybe they're doing something that is wildly different. Which, if it is, then awesome. You created a feature.
By the
It's
way,
not. It's
Pixelbase has come back and plus one your comment on IBM and Apple must be the scariest combo in the industry.
It is. I mean, I'm ex IBM. I have no problems admitting that. I'm also an Apple fanboy. I'm unabashed on that one. Even though that said, I still rip the hell out of both of them when it's appropriate.
Likewise, likewise. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't call myself an Apple fanboy, but most of my devices are Apple. But I don't, I've had Windows machines. I've been a Windows sysadmin. I can do Active Directory, SQL Server, Exchange, upside down, inside out, ISA server as well. So
Yeah.
I know my way around the Windows ecosystem pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have it as one of the stories teed up this week, but I mean, going to that topic, Amazon Echo. I think I tweeted this out earlier.
Yeah.
Amazon Echo, isn't that what Apple TV and Siri were supposed to be?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm yeah.
In technology, right? That's all that ambient technology.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing I'm very dubious about Amazon for a lot of things, and I can see Amazon Echo just being their way of getting you to buy more Amazon product rather than it being a useful service for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a brand guy, right? I'm a marketing guy, PR guy. That's the risk that you run into on these, and that's the price they're paying for that botched Amazon phone.
Yeah, the Fire.
Yeah, I mean those things matter, and that botch now makes people question Echo,
Yeah.
and it could be the greatest thing ever. It could be what we've all been waiting for and driving towards. But it's got a lot of baggage coming from a phone that nobody bought.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But speaking of Google and their bookmarking venture, which Mike shot down so successfully.
Yeah, I shut it down. I'll still end up using it on Chrome. Well, like you said, it'll just be another one that it'll be another one that I have a bunch of stories in that I might get to some Sunday.
But their maps. I mean,
oh yeah,
they've rolled out a new version of Maps on Android and iOS, and like yourself, my phone is an iPhone, and I've used on the iPhone both Apple Maps and Google Maps, and while people have shot down Apple Maps for its early teething problems, the maps now are quite accurate. I have to say they're for the most part they're as good as Google Maps.
I have not put my car into a river yet.
So what and likewise, fortunately. But what I've noticed myself and with others who are in the same situation is that while the maps are equally good, the UI on the Apple Maps is far better than
absolutely.
on Google Maps. It was much easier to use. You had to figure out on the Google one, now what do I press to get it to pull up the navigate now? And but today, thankfully, finally, Google have reskinned their Google Maps on iOS and on Android, and they've made it far better. I downloaded it and tried it this morning, and it's much better, much more straightforward.
Both companies have learned an important lesson through, and I think the Maps products that both have created, more so than anything, are going to drive, sort of the strategy for their future products. And stick with me for this one because it's a stretch, but Google's learning that it's not just enough to have great data. You need strong design, and not even UI. It's user experience, right? And Apple is learning it's not enough just to have the flip side of that, a great user experience and UI. You actually need you need to be able. You not only need good data, but you need to be able to handle that data really well.
Yeah.
And and I think it's good this is good for everybody. Once again, there no losers here unless unless your name's Tom or Garmin. But I mean
They're like Nokia. They're one of those failed organizations.
Yeah, I mean I mean, well, look at what Garmin's doing, right? What has Garmin done? Garmin's gone through because of what Apple and Google have done on maps, and they've now branched out into GoPro style cameras.
That's right.
They're doing great with it, but
They had to do
that's
something.
that's a forced business model.
Yeah.
And good for them that they've adapted. I mean, I love that. Absolutely love it. They're it's not the maps first, now it's different products.
It was swim or sink.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. We'll move on. Speaking of Chrome and Google, there's a new Chrome extension which encrypts your emails, tweets, and your status updates. So it's called Silent Circle. No, it's not. It's called ShadowCrypt. Sorry, it's called ShadowCrypt, and it's a browser extension. It encrypts anything that you write. You generate an encryption key for every website you use or every email you send. You then give those keys to people you want to share your posts with. They'll also need to have ShadowCrypt installed on their Chrome as well. But for example, this is a tweet sent using ShadowCrypt, and only people who have your key and ShadowCrypt installed will be able to read it. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the use case for this for me would be.
Oh, I could.
But for people, yeah, for people who want to encrypt stuff and make it public but encrypted, or not even just sending emails. For sending emails, I can see it absolutely. But for the likes of Twitter, it's yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you and I have been on Twitter forever, and we use it as Twitter's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be a public forum, and everything's out there as a river of stuff. For email, absolutely. For some social networks, so I mean, think about Facebook right now. They've got groups, right? Or you can choose show my friends, make it all public, all that other fun stuff. Different ways to slice and dice it. Do you ever trust it? Hell no. Right? It's ones and zeros. It's still out there. I mean, you don't know what they do with it behind the scenes, except they give it to advertisers. And if you can encrypt it, so what's going to happen with this? Somebody's going to create the next Elo or app.net or Path using this sort of technology with these keys, so that the only people that do see it are the people that you've chosen. And maybe they add in there's a public key that you can use for something like Twitter, and you choose which key it's going to be. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, that's the fluffy side of it. That's the easy side. Where that stuff's really going to start to play is where we saw Twitter really important in overseas political strife and with dissidents and with stuff that really needs to be confidential. It's gonna people don't necessarily have to go behind the scenes on real dark nets. It could increase that kind of communication a lot more.
And speaking of that, I saw another story, which I'm just about to line up now if I can get my throat working properly again. Facebook launched its own dark web site. So I thought this was fascinating. Basically, what it means is for people who want to access Facebook, but want to do so in a silent, encrypted way using Tor, they can. Facebook have now launched a Tor Facebook site. So you can get into Facebook and you can be completely, you can't be anonymous because you have to log into Facebook, but it can be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to match up someone's internet usage with stuff appearing on Facebook. So for example, people in places where Facebook is blocked, China for example, can now access Facebook using Tor, and any snooping of their internet activity cannot be lined up with any activity on Facebook. It's completely anonymized in terms of traffic from their site. It's all SSL'd. It's all anonymized. So it seems like a very good move on Facebook's part to help people use Facebook in ways they could never do so before.
Right. So the pessimist in me says that this is Facebook reacting to how popular Twitter is in situations.
Yeah.
The optimist in me says this is both Twitter and Facebook, especially Facebook recognizing that they play a more important and larger role than just being an advertising company.
Yeah.
And they're realizing that it's not what they do and what people say and how people use their services. Some people they're not. It's not minimal.
No, I mean, this stuff is very important.
Yeah, it's not trivial stuff.
No, I mean, you and I, our use case for Facebook is trivial in comparison to the use case that a lot of people have for it.
Yours isn't anywhere as near as trivial as mine is.
I'll take that.
That's what somebody should create. Somebody should try and reskin Facebook and just call it trivial, brand it as trivial.
It's very important for some people. It really is. That picture of the puppy that I put up last night.
Yeah.
Vital. So Pixelbase came back again. Left a comment via Twitter saying, and the hashtag, as I've said in my lower third there, the hashtag to use if you want to leave comments is Tech for Good. So Pixelbase came back and says on Twitter, Garmin is still doing good fitness watches. They'll probably end up as the lower end watches in comparison to the Apple Watch. And that's a great segue into the next story that I saw, which was about Basis. And Basis have brought out this new Basis Peak. And there's this review of it here on PC World. And they say it's the band to buy if you obsess about heart rate and sleep tracking. And there's a very good review. It goes into a lot of detail. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I strongly recommend reading this review of the Basis Peak. Now,
I've heard good stuff. I've heard good stuff about Basis for some of my wearable friends.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting new wearables coming out. The difficulty I have with something like the Basis is that it doesn't sync. Well, it does sync, but it doesn't allow you to export your data. Now, I have a Fitbit, and same story. I'm annoyed with it because while I can get the data into the Fitbit app on the phone and up onto the Fitbit website, I can't export it into the Apple Health app. Or if I was an Android, I couldn't export it into the Google Health app, or Google Fit, I think it's called, or the equivalent on the Microsoft Health Vault on Windows Phone or on iPhone, because you have the Microsoft Health Vault app. You can download it onto iOS or Android as well. So no, you can only keep it within their own apps. Now Jawbone are not like that. Jawbone allow you to export from Jawbone into Apple's Health app, for example, or presumably Microsoft's Health Vault, or so on and so on. So Jawbone are quite open about it. The difficulty with Jawbone is they don't make a smartwatch. They make a fitness band.
Right.
So,
but the form factor shouldn't matter. It's all about the data.
It should be, and with the likes of Fitbit and Basis, and there's a few others as well. I mean, there's a lot of others, but a lot of them are taking the idea that the data is theirs, it's not yours, and you can't share it. They're keeping it within their ecosystem.
We see that in the I work with a company called Carvoyant in the connected car space, and we see that every day, right? You've got companies that believe that I bought my car, but that's not but the data's not mine.
Yeah.
Well, no, the data has got to be, it's got to be your, your API, your data. That's got to be the way that it works. And what's funny about, you know, on the health and fitness side of data with Microsoft, with Apple, with Google, throw in everybody else, they were able to work it out on something more important, payments. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
They're able to make that happen. Who made that happen for them, and how did they do that? And why can't they do that with health data? It's not. Let's be really brutally honest here. This is not a technology decision. These are
No, 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 no.
These are pure business decisions. Money in your health data, in
Yeah,
your
and
personal health data.
those decisions aren't being made in your interest.
No, no, they absolutely aren't. If they were, that data would be free to be spread around and controlled by you, and they'd find a different way to monetize that data, or
Yeah.
or to offer you a way to monetize that data and take a
So
piece out of it.
you can be sure. I mean, I'm interested in getting a new wearable device because
Hmm.
the Force I have doing quite well, still working fine, no problem. It's nearly a year old, but it doesn't
The new
track.
one, the new stuff, the new was it the new ups?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. The Up 3
oh
and the
man,
Force HR and that kind of stuff, they're
yep.
far better. So
It's art too.
it is, yeah. The Up 3, which
Hmm.
isn't available in Europe yet, but will be shortly, and the Force HR, I think it is, or HD, I'm not sure. They track heartbeat and a couple of that makes them far more interesting because they do far more than the Force does. Now the
Hmm.
Up 3 doesn't do time, so this one tells the time, so you can see when you press a button or if you tap it either, you tap it and the time comes up.
Yep.
So that makes it very useful as a watch as well as a fitness tracker and so on. But it doesn't do the whole heartbeat thing as well, which is a nice to have.
Yeah, the heartbeat's
So
gonna. I think the heartbeat's gonna be a. That's gonna be a big differentiator
yeah,
for a lot of these apps.
it is absolutely. Now between those two, between the Up and between the new Force, if I'm deciding between the two of them, the Up allows me, although it isn't a watch, it does allow me to share the Fitbit. So between the two of those, right away, I know which direction I'm looking. Now, okay, so the Up isn't a watch, and I can't tap it and get the time, but I can get the time on my phone anyway.
Yeah, here you go.
That's not as big. That's not a deal breaker for me. The sharing of the
Hmm.
data is. So if I'm getting a new wearable, which I will be in a while,
Yep.
this one is still working fine. What'll happen is this will trickle down. It'll go to my wife or go to someone in the family, and I'll upgrade to something else.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's all about the data for me, and I suspect I'm not alone in that.
No, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. The data is what it's going to come down to with just about everything. Whether it's the net utilities, whether it's the data coming out of your car, whether it's the data coming off of your wrist. That's or the data that is coming out of your credit cards or your phone. Where that's going to be a next big focus for the tech industry, and
Yeah,
we haven't done that yet.
yeah. And
We
and
haven't got there.
speaking of cars, as you were, thanks for the segue. uh,
I did not say the word segue.
okay, we'll stay away from segues and we'll talk about this new device, which looks quite interesting. So it's a rear view mirror.
Oh
Unlike
yeah.
typical rear view mirrors, it's a screen taken from a camera at the back of the car. So when you look into the rear view mirror, you're not seeing the heads of the people sitting in the back seat. You're actually seeing what's behind the car. Plus, it's got it's got a touch screen built into it, which is transparent, so you can see through it. But it also can throw up things like GPS signals, and you've got other menus. You can pull up other applications that are built into it as well. So it won the award for the best in show for mobile electronics in the 2014 SEMA Aftermarket Automotive Show, which is a bit of a mouthful, but
Hmm.
it did, apparently. So it looks like an interesting device. if I were redesigning a rear view mirror for a car, looks like the way I would go as well. Not have it be a mirror, but have it be a screen, so that you're not looking at the faces of the people sitting behind you. And if you have a few sensors in the back of the car as well for proximity, you would have them play up there as well on that screen for you. So looks like a nice little device. And sticking with transportation, and I'm scooting through these stories because we have a few
Yep.
left. But sticking with transportation, I saw this one, which is a bit gimmicky, I think, but I still thought I'd highlight it anyway because it's 3D printing, and that's all the rage at the moment.
I saw this car being printed in Chicago at the IMTS show. They had it on.
No,
They were printing it on the floor. I didn't see it. They were putting it together too. It was amazing.
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty damn cool.
So it's a fully electric car as well. They took the motor and the headlights and the wheels and stuff like that from a Renault Twizy, which is a small little town car, like a Smart, but fully electric, made by Renault. They took that and they put the 3D printed chassis on top of it. The seats as well come from the Renault. So it's not entirely 3D printed, but most of the body is. And
The wheels were.
the wheels, it says in the article not.
Oh, they were printing. They were actually printing the wheels when I was out there, but they were putting it together. You and I would look at it and think that it was sort of a plastic Lego car.
Yeah. And even better, they're open sourcing the design, so you can download these documents and print it yourself if you get access to the right printer.
Thank you, Elon Musk.
The third story in the kind of transportation sector, sorry,
Yep.
UPS is testing pedaled electric trikes in Europe. So over here in Europe, apparently, I haven't seen any, but these are basically bicycles that you pedal, obviously. They're electric, so they're electric powered, so you pedal and then the electric motor kicks in and pushes you along. And you've got regenerative braking and all that kind of stuff. And, I can see far within cities something like this being really, really handy for getting stuff around. And going up narrow streets and things like that, stuff that, a lot of the bigger vans just, they won't ever make it. So I thought that was a very, very cool little story. And, it goes the opposite direction from Amazon using drones, really. It's far less techie way of doing it. I think it's a cool little idea.
Yeah, I think it's less techy, but I think it does play to part of what is happening with Amazon and the drones. Amazon and the drones, they're doing, bringing the delivery closer, right?
Yeah.
So rather than needing the big trucks that clog up the roadway, we've got the guy, the UPS guy that comes around, the FedEx guy, and they're here every day and
spitting smoke out the back tailpipe.
Yeah, and they've done some good work, with it, but to be able to do tighter deliveries closer to home, all of a sudden now you're talking, if you're UPS, maybe I'm not just things in a brown box. Maybe I am groceries from the local store. There are new business, something like these trikes open up. And
Exactly.
And it's awesome because they're environmentally and physically cool.
And hey, the drivers get fit too.
Right. And as a cyclist, I'd kill for running up some hills.
The last story that I saw in the transportation kind of sector was a nice one as well. You mentioned Tesla a little bit ago.
Yep.
Here we go. They aced the European safety tests. I mean, we've seen how Tesla have done amazingly well in the safety tests in the US. Those test results don't always translate because in Europe and in the US we've got different tests for safety. But now in this one, they ran the Teslas through the safety tests in Europe and boom, they blew them away. There's a video here. You can go to this page and the links are there in the show notes. You can click on that video and see some of the brutal tests they put the cars through, and it's it's impressive stuff. It's really, really impressive stuff. You see what they put the cars through and how they come out of it at the end, and you see the test dummies inside, and you see the airbags deploying, the side airbags deploying, and everything. It's really impressive stuff, and they show it in slow-mo. And
Oh, nice.
you know, when you see some of those tests being done, the side impacts, and you can see it actually. Let me switch back the screen again.
Well, I mean, think
Just,
about it. I mean, you're dealing with a car that doesn't have that big
it doesn't have an
engine
engine.
inside
Yeah.
protecting you or coming back at you too. So that frame,
It's
that's
got
a
that
diff-
front crumple
right. So there's
zone.
the crumple zone, the different design of the frame. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not just Elon and Tesla. They're not just redesigning, and innovating how cars are powered.
Hmm.
They're forcing innovation across the board and to rethink what goes on top of those four wheels.
Yeah, completely. And they've set out to make the cars not just fully electric, but also the safest cars on the road. And you
Yeah.
can see if you look at this image, and if you actually click through and watch this video, you'll see this as well. But just in this screen grab, it's a side impact on the car.
The dummy looks like it's smiling.
It does a bit. But what you see if you look carefully is the airbags on the side have already deployed.
Yep.
And if you watch it in slow-mo in the video, you'll see that the airbags deploy faster than the body of the dummy in the car has time to react, which is what you want.
That's huge.
You know, it's literally the airbags are down before the person's body starts to move in response to the impact.
The industry that deploy faster are GMs.
The which?
GMs.
Oh yeah. Indeed. We've two more stories.
Cool.
The second last is these are more sustainability themed stories than anything else, but and then we've had a number of these announcements in the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
These are the diversity stories, the different companies talking up their numbers on diversity. And you can see you've got all kinds of people working for, this is Dropbox. You've even got the guy on the extreme right of the picture here who's doing the two fingers over the back of the head of the guy beside him. So this is their Austin team and family members. But you know, they talk about the fact that in the US they're 55.9%. Oh no, this is global. 55.9% white, 30% Asian, 1% black, 3.7% Hispanic, and so on. And their gender breakdown globally is 66% men, 33.9% women. And it's all broken out by race and by whether they're in tech or non-tech, and whether they're in leadership roles, and by gender. We're seeing an increased amount of reporting of this kind of thing, and you know, it's good because it's shining a light on a big problem in the tech industry, that the tech industry is basically male and white, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, we need to break away from that. And in fairness, Dropbox have acknowledged that there's, and you know, they've said the different things they're going to do to try and get over that problem, and that's all good. The last story that I wanted to mention today is this one from Facebook, and it's how Facebook is now putting up in your news feed an opportunity to donate to help stop Ebola. And it's a very interesting move on Facebook's part. Basically, when you log into Facebook now, you will get this thing coming up and giving you an opportunity to learn more or to donate straight away. And like I say, it's an interesting activist role that Facebook are taking on themselves to try and raise money to help educate people around Ebola. So they're deploying connectivity in places where Ebola actually is, so that people can get information in and out, as well as, you know, just raising the money. So they're doing a lot of neat initiatives. on the one hand, fantastic stuff, great move out of them, nice way to grab some publicity and headlines.
Right.
On the other hand, Ebola will probably kill 5,000 people in the year 2014. And while that sounds like a lot of people, uh, it's a drop in the water compared to the likes of malaria. So Ebola will, like I say, kill about 5,000 people in 2014. Malaria will kill 750,000. So we're talking orders of magnitude more, 2 orders of magnitude plus 2.5 orders of magnitude more. If Facebook really wanted to make a difference in the world, they would be tackling something like malaria or AIDS or one of the other big killers, not the headline grabbers like Ebola, but the actual real killers. So the cynic in me says this is them grabbing headlines. Now, for anyone who's in an Ebola infected area, I'm sure they're not going to complain about this. But really, I think they could spend their efforts better elsewhere.
This is what happens when efforts like this are marketing driven versus company culture driven. Now, this is when you jump on something like this, it's to grab headlines, it's to test out, it's to market test how something like this would work.
Yeah.
As a marketer, yeah, you jump on the most visible thing, the hottest thing, and test it that way. Then you go through to some other stuff. The optimist in me really hopes that this is Facebook saying, okay, this kind of donation or awareness works. We are going to think beyond our role as a company and look at our reach. Where else can we apply this for good? Now, maybe they localize it. Maybe they're able to do this. Like when the tsunami happened, they can instantly put this on up. I think there's the potential for this to be good. It goes back to there's the potential.
Yeah.
The potential.
I think you're right. I think, that's hopefully what they're going to do, because and they allude to that as well. In fairness, they do allude to that this can become a platform for further campaigns.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and I hope you're right.
The pessimist in me says, come 2016 in the U.S., I'm also going to see that they've sold this to each political party, and I'm going to see donate now to them. And that's going to happen because all it is just changing text and directing the money to a different back end. But again, when you've got a brand that is, has a little bit of history to it, these things pop into people's heads. I applaud them. I applaud them if they actually are able to deploy this for the good of humanity, because they are. I mean, let's face it, they're huge. They're all over the place. If they combine this with, like you said, rolling out access to other places, if they don't just leave it hidden behind Facebook's platform, if they actually work with others to to integrate their platforms like Google. I almost said Google Plus, but if they or Twitter, then that tells me that they're being really serious about it.
On that note, we better call a halt, because we've gone over time, as we tend to do. So thanks everyone for your interest. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for the comments. Mike, thanks for coming on the show. It was great.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It was a blast.
And we'll be back again with another episode next week. So we'll see you all then.